and actually blaming the victim again. He talks about a confrontation. He's the one who had the confrontation. He's the one who sprayed an elderly man with mace. He's the one who smashed an elderly man in the face and head with a jewelry box. Not he threw the box. Mr. Frederick had a closed head injury, he had a broken nose, he had numerous lacerations. This was not from throwing a jewelry box. And yet, what we hear from Mr. Diaz today is that there was a confrontation, quote unquote, and I threw the jewelry box because Mr. Frederick hit him. Imagine that, the nerve of a 77-year-old man that hit this 41-year-old man. And then I also heard from Mr. Diaz the blame from his lawyer, the blame on his lawyer, that his lawyer gave up.
The voice you just heard is from the assistant district attorney, and this is a commutation hearing out of the state of Connecticut. You see, he was sentenced to 25 years for a home invasion, and he's asking that his sentence be commuted. It's quite interesting. Connecticut, they have a very strict approach to home invasions, more strict than other states, and that was because of a horrific home invasion that shook the nation, that caused legislators to tighten up on that specific crime. It's a minimum of 20 years in the state of Connecticut. Who would have thought laws can be written to protect people if there's enough outrage? Now we're going to jump into this hearing, and we will hear a man that actually blames the victim, the reason why he hit and attacked him. It's quite bizarre. But anyways, I'll unpack it with more details at the end.
The appropriate response to the testament is I do. Do you solemnly swear and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence we shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God, or upon the penalty of perjury?
Yes.
I do. Thank you. Mr. Diaz, for the record, please clearly state your name and inmate number to the board.
My name is Raul Diaz, 160833.
With the board's permission, you may proceed to explain why you believe you deserve relief. Or if you wish to have your attorney make an opening statement, you may do so, and then you may address the board after. The decision is yours.
Yes, I drafted a letter that I would like to read to the board.
You may proceed.
Would you like me to speak first, Raul?
Yes.
Good morning, members of the Board of Pardons and Paroles, State's Attorney Gdansky, and all those others who are here today for the commutation hearing regarding Raul Diaz. I'd like to begin my remarks with a quote from Dr. Martin Luther King. In one of his most famous sermons, Loving Your Enemies, Dr. King preached the following: returning hate for hate multiplies hate, adding deeper darkness to a night already devoid of stars. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. During the past more than 12 years, Raul Diaz has taken very seriously the acceptance of responsibility that he exhibited in his case. He has gone the entire time of his incarceration without a single violation within the prison facilities. And as this board knows, that is extremely rare. Mr. Diaz's case quite clearly was the result of a drug addiction. And we know very many stories of people who have been able to overcome drug addiction and live productive lives, recover, and move forward with their lives. Whether it's the more famous people like Robert Downey Jr. or Eric Clapton, or the more downtrodden people of our society, the people who don't have the privileges of others, people like Raul Diaz. Raul Diaz has used the time that he has been incarcerated not only to behave, to be good, to show good behavior, but to address the drug addiction and to develop, through his remorse, rehabilitation that can ensure that he not only helps himself through sobriety and faith, but that he can help others. And Mr. Diaz's skill set has provided him with the ability to act as a recovery coach, which he has pursued in the time since this application has been submitted and continues to be interested in going forward. Nobody can doubt the seriousness of the crime in Mr. Diaz's case, and that is why Mr. Diaz pled guilty. That is why he received a 25-year sentence. You have letters from other attorneys who have represented Mr. Diaz, such as Attorney Wright, Attorney Menesebet, who have commented on the extraordinary nature of that 25-year sentence in light of the fact that many people who are convicted of brutal murders receive 25 years as a sentence. And during the time that Mr. Diaz has been incarcerated, he has extraordinarily addressed the root causes of the conduct that resulted in him being here today. So not only has he not received a single disciplinary report, not only has he completed addiction counseling and worked diligently to become a recovery coach, not only has he staff as a laundry worker and in the factories of the marker shop for years, he also has a strong family support system who are eager to give him a successful, sober second chance at life. I know that this case came out of the Tallinn Judicial District, where it is well known that there is a harsher disposition in cases and sentencing is a little bit harsher. But I think we need to look at the broader context here of Connecticut. How many people are serving 25-year sentences like Mr. Diaz for non-fatal cases that were clearly the result of the throes of a serious drug addiction? We know Attorney Gdansky is extremely zealous in his pursuit of justice, and that he never agrees to reductions of sentences unless the individual has formed a personal relationship with him. But this is a case that truly calls for extraordinary circumstances and a consideration of the Board of Pardons and Paroles' role in fashioning a more just and merciful state that gives people second chances. If Raul Diaz's case does not present exceptional circumstances, then this board will truly be showing that the mercy and grace that it once showed to Connecticut's inmates was changed when the governor interfered with its activities. And so Mr. Diaz absolutely should receive a commutation today. And frankly, justice demands it. Thank you.
Attorney, can you please introduce yourself and who you're representing?
My name is Attorney Alex Taubes, and I represent Raul Diaz.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Diaz, you may now proceed with your statement.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the Board of Pardons and Paroles. My name is Raul Diaz. I will start by thanking the Board of Pardons and Paroles for the generosity of spirit in thinking the best of me and allowing me to be heard here today. In my heartfelt, remorseful, and humble plea for mercy and the granting of a commutation. First, I would like to start off by sincerely apologizing to Mr. Frederick for the harm, hurt, and injuries I recklessly caused you. I'm sorry for stealing and for any damages I did to your property on that regretful day. It still brings me shame to know I was the one responsible for you walking into your home and encountering me, burglarizing it, and suffering bodily injury defending your property. No homeowner or tenant should ever have to suffer the loss of property or physical injury defending it. Mr. Frederick, I want you to know that immediately after sobering up and coming to terms with what transpired, I felt humiliated and ashamed of myself. I thought about my elderly parents, and they always taught me to do unto others as you will want them to do unto you, and I was far from it that day. I have always showed the utmost respect to my elders, and although I didn't target you, the fact of the matter is I was violating the sanctity of a home, and it turned out to be your home. I have wholeheartedly accepted the responsibility and hold myself 100% accountable for the crime I committed against you and your property. This has made me take a hard look at life and realize I have to change. I hope and pray that you've recovered and restored some sense of security in your home. This should have never happened. Again, I apologize from the bottom of my heart to you, your family, friends, and anyone I affected that remorseful day. I humbly and respectfully ask if you could bestow mercy and forgive me if you find it in your heart. I was raised in the South End Frog Hollow neighborhood of Hartford, Connecticut. My parents instilled good values in me and my siblings, some being family unity, respect of others, and help our elders. They did the best that they could to shield us from the negative influences that plagued the neighborhood where they purchased their home. It's important for me to mention this as part of me accepting responsibility and accountability for the poor choices I've made in my life. As an adolescent, I sought out work and landed a job as a newspaper boy for the Hartford Courant and learned the rewards of working. Once I reached my teenage years, I got a job working at Burger King and managed to keep good grades in school and felt good about my future. In hindsight, I came to a crossroad and regrettably took the wrong path, wanting to be cool by hanging out with older boys who were drinking and skipping school. My grades dropped and my behavior became poor. I ended up dropping out of school and started selling drugs and experimenting with them. This got me in trouble with the law and I got incarcerated due to this negative frame of mind I was ignorantly entertaining. Then in 1993, my brother Michael Diaz got murdered and my world got darker with drug use and my life was in shambles. Today in my 50s and after years of incarceration, I really understand that deep-rooted denial and lack of emotional intelligence kept me in the throes of addiction and prohibited me from seeing that my thought process was self-defeating and destructive. I became a shadow of my former self. I was not living to my full potential. Today, I have learned to love, believe, and respect myself. In all these years of being incarcerated, I have committed myself to my sobriety one day at a time. I have stayed out of trouble and have participated in programs that have enhanced my empathy towards crime victims and have provided me with knowledge about triggers about my disease of substance abuse. The programs I have completed have strengthened my resolve and have helped me consistently and successfully combat negative encounters that are counterproductive on how I live today. If given the opportunity to receive clemency through accommodation, I will continue to prioritize my commitment to my recovery by reaching out to Youth Challenge of Connecticut, as they are a faith-based organization specializing in substance abuse recovery and outreach gospel ministries, to help me create a support system that fosters my recovery and faith. I will be getting a job and enrolling in training to obtain my CDL. Prior to my incarceration, I obtained my CDL permit, and when released, would like to finish my goal of obtaining my CDL and become an upstanding citizen like everyone here today. In 2017, I got married to a great woman that shares my faith in Jesus Christ. It has been nearly 7 years since I got married, and we have persevered through the challenges and hardships of being apart. If given the opportunity to join my wife, I would lovingly and respectfully endeavor to make our marriage a wholesome one while prioritizing my commitment to my sobriety, which she is eager to support me through. I also have my aging mother to look after, as she is nearing 80 years of age and lives alone since my dad's passing in February 2021. Her and my dad were hoping I'd be home before they passed away, but unfortunately my dad had a short-lived battle with cancer. I love nothing more than to be with my mother for this last chapter in her life and to prove to her that I will be okay. I have great support from my family, and they have been there for me through all these years of incarceration. I will also continue to work towards the restoration of a good name and refuse to permit worthless drug use and irresponsible living turn me into a negative mark in my community or someone's life. I am ready to be a blessing to my family and friends and all those I will encounter in life. I will be an asset and not a liability to society as I continue to strive for personal growth. I understand and know that my overall reentry success hinges on my commitment to my sobriety. Once again, I would like to remorsefully apologize to Mr. Frederick, his family and friends, to my community and society. I would like to thank all the board members for allowing me to be here today and for giving me the opportunity to apologize to Mr. Frederick. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Diaz, thank you for your statement. The board does have questions for you. When we're done with our questions, we'll turn the hearing over to the Office of Victim Services, and then the state's attorney will have an opportunity to speak, after which we'll deliberate and give you our decision here today. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so you covered a lot of information. In addition, we did receive a packet of information from Attorney Talbis. Thank you. We have records from your criminal history, the time of the offense, through your incarceration, your accomplishments there. So we're very familiar with your case. Okay, we've read all of the documentation available. So we're not going to rehash the entire crime, but I do want to point out, Mr. Diaz, that prior to committing this crime, you really were on a reckless path for over 20 years. You were committing crimes. Was it all due to your drug addiction, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and throughout that time, through all of your other convictions, were you afforded the opportunity at treatment, substance abuse treatment, sir?
It was just incarceration. After incarceration, 18 months, 2 years, 3 years. I was just really struggling. It was just the deep-rooted denial that just had me, struggling. I had to come to terms and really, on this incarceration, I really took a hard look at my life, and I said I can't lie to myself anymore. I have to figure out what's wrong with me, and that's what I did. And I know that there's hope, and there is sobriety. It exists, and that's what I've been living, and I enjoy it, and that's who I am today. I'm a recovering addict that strives for that personal growth and to continue to stay clean, and looking forward to helping others as I do here. Any encouragement I could give them, tell them how I've been doing it.
Okay. So I don't want to speak for you, but I want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying. Are you saying that despite efforts in treatment and incarcerations, you just weren't ready to accept the help and you were in denial about the level of your addiction?
Right, I just didn't know how to go about it. I think it was lack of emotional intelligence, because I really after my brother's death, I really got into like dark drug use, and I just struggled, right through. It was just like I couldn't put it together, until I started getting information and hearing testimonies and stuff about people that have been clean, and how they went about it, and I started taking them steps, towards that.
Tell us what you use the phrase dark drug use. What does that look like? What does that mean?
Well, I would say smoking crack, heroin, hard drugs.
And how often were you using?
Practically every day. When I had time clean, it was even, I used to have like binges, and then, just stop, and then it was times where I was just just using drugs every day,
Okay. So what you said your longest incarceration prior was for 2 years?
My prior incarceration was 5 years.
Oh, 5 years. You were incarcerated for 5 years?
4 years, actually 4 years and a couple of months.
Okay. And in those 4 years, were you continuing to use drugs in the facilities?
I had probably dibble and dabble, but I wasn't like I would say like into recovery. I didn't know nothing about like really sobriety, the 12 steps, none of that, It was just
Okay.
yeah.
So when you were released from prior incarcerations, did you have any length of sobriety in the community?
Yes, I did. Then I relapsed. Then I went back, and I went down to Florida. My brother flew me down there, and I kicked cold turkey, and I was good over there. Then I came back to Connecticut. I had a child support here and came back, and within a week I relapsed. Then I was, in the midst of then, using.
And how long were you clean in that or sober during that period before you relapsed?
I would say probably like a week or 2 weeks.
Oh,
from
wow.
coming back. Yeah,
Okay. All right, so the night of this offense, you had been using crack cocaine and heroin?
yes,
And I understand you were in a stolen car, right?
yes,
And you
right.
had left the scene of another burglary and went to this victim's home. Do you recall that the event? Do you remember everything that happened?
Yeah, I remember, yes, crashing the car, running through a field, running through a backyard, looking to a home. There was no one there. I went in there with the intention of stealing a car. And, that's when the homeowner came in, probably like within minutes.
Okay. Well, the intention was more than stealing a car because you had a jewelry box, right?
Right. It was like, I seen the jewelry box. I took the jewelry box, I was in a fog, took the jewelry box, and when the homeowner came in, there was like a confrontation. I tried to get out of it, and I just, threw the jewelry box at him and ran out.
Yeah. Why didn't you just run away? Why did you have to hit him?
It was just like, and it was, I was in a pathway where I couldn't go nowhere, and it's something I never talked about, but it happened. But it doesn't matter because I'm not the victim here. He is, and he was in his home. He punched me with a fist when it had a key. He had the key in his fist. He punched me with it, and out of the reflex, I threw the jewelry box. That's what actually happened. But like I said, I'm not the victim. He is, and it was never put on the police report. So, that's just.
If you threw the jewelry box, he had stitches or staples to his head.
Right, I threw the jewelry box at him. So I assume it hit him in the face, in the head.
Okay. So you're saying it was out of reaction?
Yes.
You weren't intending to.
No, I was no, I
Injure
was not.
him?
It was a reaction.
All right. Well, I mean, we all know that he was injured, and more importantly, you were convicted of a home invasion. Prior to your sentence, the sentence of 25 years, you were initially offered 20 years, right?
Right.
So why
20 years.
didn't you take that offer, sir?
Because it was 20 years, 30 years suspended, 5 years probation, a total effective sentence of 55 years.
A
It
total
wasn't just-
effective sentence 55. So, but suspended after 20. Okay.
Yeah,
So you didn't want the lengthy total effective sentence. Is that
right. Well, my thing was always that I committed a burglary in the first degree, that there's case law that the judge interpreted like it was a burglary in the first degree, because that's what the law interprets. But the state's attorney did not want to get off the home invasion. My attorney did not want to file the motion to dismiss. So that's always been my challenge to that charge and that conviction.
But did your attorney explain to you why they could convict you under the home invasion?
No, he told me it was a burglary in the first degree.
Okay.
Then after that, he just I guess he gave up, and he said,
Okay.
whether.
But so you
Yeah.
were following the advice of your attorney?
Yeah, I
With
was
the burglary?
following the advice of my
Okay.
attorney. Yes.
All right. Okay, so you mentioned, let's talk about, because all of this is related to your addiction, I want to talk about what you've done to address your addiction while you're incarcerated, first of all. I understand you took the Tier 2 program,
Yes.
and have you been involved with NA and AA?
Yes, well, they just started them back up here, but for the most part, they haven't been, they wasn't having the NAA, they just introduced them again. So,
Going now?
I've been doing like on my tablet, I've been doing, recovery, podcast, and, just, going through the steps every day, whatever step I need to use to deal with the situation I'm encountering, whatever
Okay.
thought comes to mind, I'll counter it.
Okay, when do you go to meetings?
When did I go to meetings?
When do you go to the meetings in the facility?
In this facility, they're at 6. I think it's at 6 in the afternoon, in the evening. Excuse me?
How often do you go?
No, I'm not going to the meetings on this
Okay.
specific. They just started them probably like 2 months ago. So I wrote them to sign up to get on the list.
Okay. So you can't just go to a meeting.
No, you just can't go to the meeting. You gotta be
So you're
signed
doing
up.
the steps on your own
Yes,
and
yes.
through your tablet. Okay. All right. What else have you done, sir? Was there aftercare following the tier 2 program?
Excuse me?
Was there aftercare following tier 2?
No, there's not no aftercare here. There is, but they have to choose you for that too, you know? They
Okay.
have to, yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you've been participating in that we might not know about?
Yeah, well, after just work and employment, I did the PET program. I did good intentions, bad choices.
Tell us what you learned from the Good Intentions, Bad Choices program.
Well, they taught me pretty much they complement each other, but it taught me compromise. It taught me accountability. You know, it strengthened my empathy. And the PEP also, the PEP was very instrumental to it. Helped me learn like problem solving skills, managing conflict, goal setting, empowerment.
Okay. Okay, and your work, are you in laundry now? Is that what you're doing now?
Yeah, I've been in, I was in a laundry room and now I'm in a G basement. It's where they process all the intake inmates, they're leaving, coming in.
And what do you do there?
What I do there, I'm part of the intake processing. I hand out, clothes, bedrolls, do errands.
Okay. And prior to that, you worked in the marker shop for 15 years?
Yeah, I worked in a barber shop in Cheshire Correctional.
The barber shop?
Well, actually, there's no barber shop in Cheshire. They have a barber box, so you can cut hair in the units. So
How long did you do that for?
I did that probably like if I recall, like a year and a half.
A year and a half, and then you went to the marker shop?
No, then from there I went to the marker shop in Cheshire.
Yeah. Yeah, I just said that.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
the marker shop for 15 years. Okay. All right. You
Yeah.
mentioned wanting to be a recovery coach, being certified in that. Is there CCAR in that facility?
Yeah, there is C card. I'm looking into that on how to they call it RCA Recovery Coach Academy.
Yeah.
And I inquired about it and he said as soon as they start accepting, he's gonna let me know because he goes constantly down the G basement.
Have
What
you
is that?
spoken to a coach for yourself?
Yeah, which is one of the addiction services counselors.
I meant a CCAR recovery coach.
No, not yet.
Okay. What are you waiting for?
Well, no, I'm waiting for them to let me know when there's a room so I could apply for it. To apply to be seen. Everything's a process here because it's a big list. But it's definitely something I'm interested in.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do, you know.
Okay. So you mentioned the Youth Challenge program. Tell us what that is.
Well, Youth Challenge is they deal with substance abuse but faith-based. It's in tandem with biblical principles. And they also have a congregation and they welcome recovering addicts and they're familiar with substance abuse. So it's a ministry that I would like to be involved with too.
Is it an inpatient program?
Excuse me?
Is it an inpatient program? Do you go live there?
Yeah, there's an inpatient program, yes, an outpatient, yes.
Okay, and how long is the program?
How long is, I think it's, they have, I think it's a 90-day and a 6-month program. But you can stay up there until a year. They have like a work release program.
You got a letter, right? Did you get a letter?
Yep.
So what is the program that you intend to be participating in? Oh, it's so small, I can't read it. Which part of the program do you intend to participate in, sir?
Youth Challenges Ministries.
I know, for how long?
Well, I did the interview with them and they said they're willing, that I'm suitable, I'm a suitable candidate.
Yeah,
And, so I'm definitely gonna be, going to see them.
okay. So what do you plan to do? What is your relapse prevention plan after that?
My relapse prevention, well, constantly working on my sobriety, going to NA meetings, AA, getting a sponsor. Changing people, places, and things, because I know that's big. Because I've learned also from tier 2 that many of my triggers are based on personal experiences, rather than scientific report. There's a lot of it scientific report, but many of my triggers are based on my personal experiences. So understand that.
Okay. And you mentioned people. You were with a girlfriend at the time. Are you still with her?
Oh no. I got married to a woman that shares my faith. She's a real.
That's right. Yeah, I did read that. So wait, you got married during this incarceration?
Yes,
How long have you been married?
7 years.
And how did you meet her?
I met her through a pastor that I called, because I'm real involved in my faith, so I talked to a lot of Christian brothers and sisters, and she started corresponding with me, and then we came and find out that we went to elementary school together.
Oh, wow.
Then yeah, she decided to come visit me, and we started talking. Then a year later, we decided to get married.
Okay. And how did you connect with this pastor?
Through Christian fellowship correspondence.
Yeah. And does your wife visit you?
Yes,
How often?
she visits me, not often like that. It's been 7 years, but I talk to her every day, and whatever, since I've worked a lot since I've been here, and I'm constantly cutting hair. Besides working in G basement, I also do a lot of hair cutting. So whenever she works hard hours too, she works for Connecticut Transit. So whenever we get a chance, we see each other in person, where we talk a lot.
When is the last time you saw her?
Probably, I would say less than a year ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. Okay, so your plans upon release. You're gonna live with your wife?
Well, that right there, I want to go over there. I want to go to live with my wife, obviously, but I've also have my sister as a sponsor. I have my mother, because it's, I mean, I'm coming home, and I know the marriage could be a challenge, and I know it
Sure
could be
can.
probably, excuse me.
Yeah, I can. You're right. That's
Right. So I'm aware of that. So I don't want my sobriety. I don't want it to be entangled with to be codependent of a relationship, because I know the struggles and stuff, the challenges of a marriage. So yes, I do want to eventually, be living where she owns her own home and stuff. And so I know it would be great, but I would like to transition into a program or a halfway house. So there could be a buffer there, so we could get to know each other even more.
yeah. All right. So in your transcript, Judge Solomon said to you, you can choose to use those years for constructive purposes and do something that people on the outside hear about, or you can just sit there and count the days on the calendar and hope that you get out. What do you think you've done?
That's the words hit me hard, man. The words hit me hard, and when I was in Walker and High Bond, I used to think about his words, a lot, and how I squander, my potential for years with worthless drug use, and just in this vicious cycle that had me, just setback after setback, failure after failure. And I said, you know what, I'm not gonna wallow in self-pity and start using it here, or start entertaining a negative frame of mind. I'm gonna do what I can to start learning about my disease, and that's what I did. That's what I
Okay.
did, and I thank Judge Solomon for the words.
I would encourage you, sir, to continue to work, do more. Don't get comfortable, complacent. Continue to find different programs and different areas that you can get involved in. Maybe mentoring younger inmates, or, get into the NA meetings, get yourself a recovery coach, keep working on yourself. Okay. It is certainly noteworthy that you didn't receive any disciplinary reports in 12 years. That is, as your attorney mentioned, very rare for us to see. So definitely happy to see that you've stayed out of trouble. And we know they do random drug testing there. So if you can be clean for 12 years, we certainly hope that you can be successful and remain sober in the future. You have to, right? Because I think you hit rock bottom. Yeah.
Yes,
All right.
okay.
Thank you for speaking with me, sir. I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Ms. Page. No questions, Madam Chair. Thank you. Okay. Mr. Pohl.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Morning, Mr. Diaz.
Good morning.
You think Elliot Solomon saved your life?
I think he did. I think his words really hit me. And, when he highlighted my family, the support that they never gave up on me, when he told me that, he had a lot of people in front of him that he had to look far, real far to find something good. And sometimes he couldn't find nothing good. He said, however, I don't see that. I see a lot of good. I see you have a supportive family, and I see you're respectful, you're intelligent. All them things hit me hard and made me say, whatever, he's sentencing me, but he's telling me something that was real. It was real. It hit me, and I took it and I ran with it. And that's what yes, I'm grateful. He did save my life, I think.
Certainly, he's a good man and a good judge. And if I would have saw this rap sheet in front of me, if I were the judge and he came in front of me, I would have done the same thing that he did. I didn't even have to look at what your drug scores were. I just needed to look at your rap sheet. Because that tells a whole story. And there's only one way to turn that around, right?
Yes.
And you've done some things there, right? The tier 2 piece is important to get yourself thinking, right? In the right way. One of the biggest things that I read was you spend time reflecting and trying to lose your self-defeating thought process, right? That's addiction.
Right.
That's where that is, right? And it's the only way out is to focus on recovery.
Right.
So I saw your the things changed for you when you hit step 2.
Yeah, I came to believe that a power greater than myself could restore me to sanity. Yes. And that's one of the things that really I've latched on to it, and know that every day, when I pray, I ask God and I thank him for this one sober day, that I could think differently and process my emotions in a positive light. Yes, so yes, my higher power is I would say my foundation of my recovery.
Along with that, step 2 is open-mindedness, right?
Right.
And it's about, continuing to look for that solution, right?
Right.
So the AA and NA meetings in the facility are something that will help you and help you bridge going out, right?
Right.
you looked at, have done some research into recovery coaching. However, what the chair asked was about you and seeking a recovery coach, right?
Right,
And the piece with that is your sentence is too far out for them to actually do some work with you prior to your release.
right. Is that any questions?
Well,
Pardon.
I'm just going down this, I'm going down this road because, you know, what is a driver here? You know, why, you know, you have a victim in this case that had, was burglarized and, you know, injured. Was you're just deep into the darkness of addiction. You know, so looking at this road on the way out is incredibly important.
Yes,
The youth challenge piece is important. It's one thing to not get disciplinary reports inside and to stay clean and sober inside. It's a different thing when you get out here. Because those people, places, and things that you talked about, out here, you haven't dealt with those yet. And the way you do that is with a program and a coach. And a
Right.
sponsor and any other kind of things that you can put in your life like that. Right?
right,
So that's incredibly important. You had some really good letters. The letter that was referred to from Attorney Wright was certainly good. You know, in your evaluations, positive work ethic, you know, initiative, fast learner, that kind of remarks when it comes to what you've done in the facility are incredibly important. So I'm happy that you have turned it around. And I'm happy that you understand that you need to keep it turned around every single day.
yes,
That's how you get to longevity. Right?
right.
That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Pohl. So at this time, we'll turn the hearing over to the Office of Victim Services for input. Ms. Hamlet-Williams, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a statement from the victim in the case, and it reads, "The home invasion on October 27, 2011, by Mr. Diaz left its mark, not only with material loss, but also physical and emotional damage to myself and my whole family. The material damage has been repaired, but the emotional part will be lingering forever. One cannot escape from the drama. The tranquil, carefree, and happy home life is gone forever. I will question myself forever if I did everything that I could have done. What did I do right or wrong? What if it had happened 1/2 hour later and my 2 little grandchildren were home from school? When I wake up during the night, I get up to see if everything is okay. This will probably never happen again, but now our home has bolted doors like Fort Knox, and herewith forever erosion of carefree living. Soon after my home invasion and hospitalization, I resolved to forgive Mr. Diaz for what he has done to us. I don't necessarily wish him well, for he has to answer for his actions. However, I do wish his family well. They most likely are suffering just as my family is. To a certain extent, the forgiveness has set me free, and even though I think about the attack often, it has definitely eased my mind. Sincerely, victim." Thank you.
Is that all we have? I thought the first screen was from.
No,
Ms.
no,
Hamlet-Williams.
Thank you.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I thought the person on the screen was here for this case. No?
I am here as well. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did you
Oh,
have a
I'm so
statement, sir?
sorry. I apologize. Yes, I am
That's
so
okay.
sorry.
I do have a statement. Some of it's prepared, some of it might be off the cuff. I apologize if I bore the board. And Wilhelm Frederick was my father-in-law. He was 77 at the time of the home invasion and the attack. I know I'm not the first to stand in front of you and share how crime affects lives, but I wish to thank the Board of Pardons and Paroles for this opportunity to speak on his behalf. This is the first time I'm aware of Mr. Diaz ever demonstrating any remorse for his actions of 12 years ago. I am also very surprised of his keen awareness of what happened, yet he has no recollection of the jarring impact of the jewelry box and the spray of mace that was in my father-in-law's eyes for a couple of hours. This is about two men, both with choices. Life circumstances forced them to take two different paths. I know of one who immigrated to the United States and led a productive life, and one that's an admitted drug user and habitual criminal that should stay incarcerated for his entire sentence to protect the community. And no, this is not a statement of hate or darkness. This is just people need to pay for their actions. A little history, since Mr. Diaz gave his. Born 1934 in Mannheim, Germany, Willie endured many obstacles and tragedies throughout his early years. World War II broke out in 1939 and ended in 1945. He spent his childhood watching his family and country ripped apart. During this time, he was separated from his family for almost a year as the worst of the war raged on. In spite of this, he tried to live his life by the 10 Commandments and the Boy Scout oath. He was a lifelong Boy Scout. He was raised in a religious home. Due to the war and lack of formal education, it was thought that college was not an option for him, so he learned a trade. His father was a plumber, so he became a carpenter, what turned out to be a master craftsman, if you will. Not knowing the language and with an uncertainty for his future in his homeland, he chose to leave his family in war-torn Germany at the age of 18. With a few coins in his pocket, he passed through Ellis Island on his way to a sponsor's farm in upstate New York for a new beginning. While there, he met up with others that fled Germany. He met his future wife, and the Fredericks clan began in America. Willie had a choice: to leave his family behind and start over, never thinking Germany would rebuild as it did. He thought he left the fear and pain of war behind him. Mr. Diaz also had a choice. Mr. Diaz is a lifelong convicted felon. If my facts are correct, and before he was convicted of the crimes to my family, he had 22 previous convictions. I'm told that if a trial actually took place and he was convicted of the home invasion and the attack of an elderly person, which was certainly likely, he would have faced up to 100 years in prison. However, while in prison, he used his resources and the legal system to petition the court for a writ of habeas corpus, claiming ineffective representation, which I'm told he was denied. While in prison now, he's using the Board of Pardons and Paroles to have his sentence commuted, a sentence he agreed to. When he committed the crime against my family, he was not a young, naive person, young, naive adult. He was a 41-year-old grown man. Mr. Diaz had a choice. Willie recently passed, but his family, his 86-year-old wife of 67 years, affectionately called the Nana, his son and daughter-in-law still live in the house and are reminded of the invasion daily. The doors locked, the windows closed, the cameras installed, and each time an unknown vehicle or person comes down the driveway, the uneasy feelings leak in. There was always a level of comfort in knowing that Mr. Diaz was to be locked up for 25 years, but that comfort is waning, especially with his repeated requests to get out before his time. Willie was a strong man. Willie was an honorable man. Willie was a veteran who served this country proudly. When he built his retirement home on a large secluded parcel he bought decades ago, he figured he'd be able to live out his final years in peace. Who knew the pain we saw in his eyes from Mr. Diaz's crime would remain until he passed. You've heard Willie's statement in his own hand. You haven't seen it, but you've heard it. He wrote that back in March of 2013, in which he demonstrated compassion, self-serving compassion to make himself feel better, but compassion for Mr. Diaz regardless. However, the words that will forever resonate with me and hopefully to the board, for he has to answer for his actions, should be enough to deny his request. Please make Mr. Diaz continue to pay for his crimes by holding him to his choice, his agreement of 25 years. It's much better than what should have been life. It may still leave him time to enjoy the freedoms that he took from his victims, but only after most of them are gone. Mr. Diaz had a choice. Thank you for the opportunity.
Can I just clarify for the record, please, Ms. Hamlet-Williams, is your statement from the sentencing?
Yes, the family asked that I read that statement as well as the family representative who spoke today.
Okay. Thank you.
If I may, Mr. Frederich has since passed. He was unable to update a statement.
Of course, yes. Just wanted to clarify for the record. Thank you so much. So we'll turn it over to State's Attorney Gdansky at this point. Thank you.
Thank you, and good morning to the board. I think what the record that has been submitted already, both from Mr. Diaz and his attorney, and from the state, and from the victim, that alone does not provide exceptional and compelling circumstances to warrant a commutation. But what I heard today furthers my belief that Mr. Diaz is not deserving of a commutation. I appreciate his apology today. It's the first time I've heard him apologize, but it still rings hollow to me when the board asked him further questions of that. Because it included all kinds of excuses for his actions, including his drug addiction, and actually blaming the victim again. He talks about a confrontation. He's the one who had the confrontation. He's the one who sprayed an elderly man with mace. He's the one who smashed an elderly man in the face and head with a jewelry box. Not he threw the box. Mr. Frederick had a closed head injury, he had a broken nose, he had numerous lacerations. This was not from throwing a jewelry box. And yet, what we hear from Mr. Diaz today is that there was a confrontation, quote unquote, and I threw the jewelry box because Mr. Frederick hit him. Imagine that, the nerve of a 77-year-old man that hit this 41-year-old man. And then I also heard from Mr. Diaz the blame from his lawyer, the blame on his lawyer, that his lawyer gave up. Mr. Diaz was represented by a very experienced criminal defense lawyer. And through his lawyer and the state, they came to this agreement. We came to this agreement. I think it's awfully telling that Mr. Diaz did not want to accept a split sentence with time hanging over his head. He wanted instead a flat sentence. And even though that split sentence was only slightly less than what he ultimately agreed to a flat sentence, he did not want a period of probation. He did not want a period of suspended time hanging over his head. From what Mr. Diaz's attorney said today, I did not hear acceptance of responsibility in contrast to what was submitted. And in fact, I've never heard acceptance of responsibility from Mr. Diaz going way back to the beginning and throughout the post-conviction process. And as of late, not only today, but to his letter to the Conviction Integrity Bureau as late as July of last year, where he blames the victim again, and he blames his lawyer for his predicament, not him. I heard a lot of discussion from Mr. Diaz and quite frankly, questions from the board about Mr. Diaz's addiction. And While I'm not an expert in addiction, I've been in the criminal justice field for 34 years, and I can state for the court state for the board, in my experience, not every drug addict commits violent crime. In fact, most drug addicts do not commit violent crime. They commit non-violent crime, shoplifting and other theft type items. Not Mr. Diaz. Mr. Diaz came to the table before this crime with convictions for robbery and gun possession. And then in this offense, he assaulted an elderly person and robbed him and committed a home invasion. And by all definitions of home invasion, he's guilty of it. This was an inventive charging. This was based on the facts. Mr. Diaz was on probation 4 different times in his past before this case, and they all ended up in a violation of probation. He failed on each of those. And he was released from incarceration in the past through community releasing or parole. So he had plenty of opportunities to seek help and get help and be successful. He failed. When he committed this offense, as you know, he was a 41-year-old man with 22 prior convictions, including many felonies. And then he committed this horrendous crime. As I told you, the injuries, and as you heard, the injuries both physically and emotionally to Mr. Frederick were severe. And almost from the moment, if I can just circle back, almost from the moment that he pled guilty, Mr. Diaz was working the system to try and get out. And while these are all part of his constitutional rights, and he shouldn't be punished for that, but those don't equate to acceptance of responsibility or contrition. Less than a year after his conviction, he filed his first habeas. And when Judge Oliver denied that habeas or dismissed that habeas, Mr. Diaz appealed right away, the first day. While that was pending, he filed the second habeas. And then, as I told you, he filed this letter with the Conviction Integrity Bureau in July of last year. The habeases and the letter to Conviction Integrity, again, these are part of his constitutional rights to pursue, but they don't equate to acceptance of responsibility, and they don't equate to contrition. And in fact, they contain all the same themes. It's not my fault. It's my lawyer's fault. And in fact, it's my victim's fault. A victim who had the nerve to come home in the middle of a home invasion. Mr. Diaz was the prototypical habitual persistent offender, and he qualified for all sorts of enhancements on top of what he was facing, just as the charges as they were charged. And on the first day of jury selection, because he had rejected all plea offers, on the first day of jury selection, he decided he needed to cut his losses. And he received exactly what he asked for. And the state received what we asked for. We came to an agreement. And what's often lost in an agreement is that both sides give up seeking something different. Mr. Diaz gave up seeking something lower. The state gave up seeking something higher to reach this agreement. And from that day, he's been trying to get out. And I would submit to the board that this application for commutation is just another in a long line of Mr. Diaz's attempts to get out and avoid responsibility. Certainly the record that has been submitted, he's done well in prison. I'm not going to take that away from him, but doing well in prison is what's expected of you. He has certainly not done anything exceptional or compelling to warrant a commutation. And I would ask the board to deny this.
Thank you, Attorney Gdansky. Okay, Mr. Diaz, at this time, the panel will enter into deliberation. You can listen to our deliberations and we'll come back to you with our decision.
Okay.
Okay, so we've been presented with a lot of information here today. Mr. Diaz has explained to us just how deep into his addiction he was at the time of this offense. did finally express remorse, whether the victim's family is accepting of that or not. He has accomplished sobriety over the last 12 years, and we know that because he has no disciplinary reports, and that would be nearly impossible to accomplish if he were using in the facility. He has been working on himself. Has he done what we see other people do? Not quite, but as you pointed out, it may be because his end of sentence date is so far out that he doesn't have the programming available to him yet. He has made a plan for himself upon release to go to the Youth Challenge program. His criminal history, as I pointed out at the beginning of this hearing, was concerning to me. He had been on a long path, but he also explained that he was not yet ready to accept his addiction and to receive the help that he needed. Accepting responsibility for me is questionable. I mean, we've read the official version, and I'm not quite sure that it aligns with his explanation of what happened given the injuries. However, that's over and done with. There's nothing we can do about that. He was offered a 20-year deal, but rejected it because of the total effective sentence structure. I'm pretty sure he did not know at the time that he accepted this home invasion 25-year sentence that a home invasion does not allow you to receive risk reduction earned credits. So you're doing every day of that incarceration until you hit your 85% date. And he will get a parole hearing. He is eligible for a parole hearing that is his 85% date. So, as the state's attorney pointed out, I guess it really, we are tasked with determining whether there are exceptional and compelling circumstances here. And I'm not quite sure yet where I stand with that. So I'd like to hear from my colleagues. Ms. Page.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I agree with, I thank you for your synopsis of what has transpired here today. And I appreciate Mr. Diaz providing some insight as to why he was doing what he did. I think that it hit home with him that his brother's loss was not properly grieved. And so that's what really threw him further into addiction. I really would have liked to see him get some treatment, with that to really kind of avoid going back when he's released out into the community to trying to self-medicate, but that's neither here nor there. He has done some good programs, and I really am of the opinion that he probably could have done more. And I'm not trying to take away from what he has achieved. I do appreciate all that he's done, and he really is trying. I think that he's making a valid effort. He's made a valid effort to turn his life around. However, I just do not believe that his actions have risen to the level of compelling or exceptional to warrant his sentence being commuted today. And I say that because of his criminal history. I do think that the 25 years that was issued was right, honestly. I mean, based on his history. And he was given a number of opportunities. You talked about his release out in the community. You asked him about his treatment, and he said, I was always incarcerated. Well, he had 9 chances out there, and he failed 6 of those. And he has some violations of supervision in his criminal history. So although I appreciate the strides that he made, And he will continue to make. He is eligible for parole, unlike the person we saw before him. I just I could not support his request here today for commutation, and I would vote to deny his request based on just his criminal history and the injury impact to. I know this is not.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So exceptional and compelling is the bar. And that's what needs to be measured here. The 25-year sentence for home invasion, for me, was it excessive? I think it's a sentence that is rather long. I'm not saying that it should have been 5 years or 10 or 15, because the basis here, we got a burglary one where he confronted somebody in their home, trying to take their belongings and injured them, and effectively, according to the victim's son, affected him for the rest of his life. And that's something that we really have to take a look at. So when it comes to the driver behind all of this, it is my wheelhouse. It's what I know an incredible amount about, and I'm struggling here. We have tier 2. We didn't, as in the last case, we didn't rise to the level of mentorship in tier 2. And aftercare wasn't a piece of that. We were in the last 4 years shut down quite a bit when it comes to meetings, 12-step recovery meetings in the facility, or all recovery meetings in the facility if they're brought in by CCAR and recovery coaches, right? It just didn't happen there. I think that Mr. Diaz has got somewhat of a concept when it comes to 12-step recovery, but it's not a really deep understanding of recovery. He has tried to set himself up with the aftercare with youth challenge. He wants to go through CCAR recovery coach training, and eventually he really does need to get a recovery coach for himself. His 85% date right now for parole is in 2033.
Mhm.
And his EOS on his sentence is 2035.
I thought it was 2036.
35, 36, something like that.
It's 36. You
Yeah.
can't get any rec time, remember, with the home invasion charge.
Okay. So it's 2036. So where we are right now, I don't know that he's done some good work with vocational programs, done good work in the market shop, he is gaining insight. There was 20 years offered in this case originally by the state's attorney, but with supervision to follow. And I certainly, that's always been an important thing to me. And I really appreciate Attorney Gdansky in putting forth a offer that had supervision to follow.
Yeah.
Because when we have somebody who's gone away for 25 years and then comes back out into the community and they don't have that supervision, it's almost like a setup to fail. So I can appreciate that the original offer in this case had supervision, not only to think about public safety, but also to think about the incarcerated individual. Because that's highly important. The thing that I keep going back to is exceptional and compelling. And I'm just, after our discussion, I'd just be really interested in what, if there's anything further that you think in terms of the case.
Well, I mean, I certainly agree that, 20 years would have been more along the lines.
Right.
If he accepted that offer.
And it
My
gives,
feeling was that it was a little excessive, the sentence,
Right.
but I understand where it came from. Understanding, he had a horrible history.
the other thing
My
is,
hope is that when he gets
Right.
closer to his end of sentence, he'll be allowed to participate in more
Right.
more programming, and he'll be ready when his parole date comes to offer all that he has done.
right. And that's the thing. It's like him being roughly 10 years out right now, he's not granted a lot of programming. And
Right.
for me, it's like when I look at the sentence, and I deal with parole files all the time with sentences for robbery ones and, assaults and things like that. This 25 is a long sentence. If we brought it down 5 years, it would still have him in until 2028 before he was even eligible for a parole hearing. And could give him the opportunity to become more involved with CCAR and Recovery Coach Academy, as well as develop a plan to further help. And I mean, that's where I can go on this.
So I need a few minutes to think on my own and excuse myself. We're going to take a brief recess. Okay, everyone sit tight. Remember that you're live streaming, so keep your microphones muted. And we're going to take a brief recess and we'll come back. Okay, thank you for your patience. All right, we're back. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. Mr. Paul, further discussion. Ms. Page, you've already announced your decision. Thank you.
So, thank you for taking the break. During that time, I read the policy again, which has the application in order to be considered by us rise to that level, which it did, based upon what was submitted. One of the other things that I've also reviewed after we receive this package, we have a parole officer go out and do an interview and put together a summary in asking questions and such. And Mr. Diaz was asked a few things. And there was a couple of things that I highlighted in the first go around through this
Mhm.
that I want to also focus on. Says today I view my recovery as a very serious commitment and understand that my life and freedom, as well as the well-being of society, depends upon my commitment to recovery. He's interested in being involved with outreach programs to mentor youth. And he talks about as well being involved with recovery-based programs in addition to just doing youth challenge, including making amends as part of his sobriety and reentry plan. In looking at his evaluations further, it is outlined in the report that he has excellent evaluations based upon his service in the intake unit as a barber and in the barber shop. Those are excellent evaluations, and that's done by DOC staff. And there are definitely things here that are in the positive nature. You know, based upon what the interview with the parole officer, my rereading the policy, understanding where the victim is here as well. And that is incredibly, it's an incredibly important piece of this. You know, and the victim in this case, we were shared what he said at trial. We're also shared from his son's perspective, looking at his dad over those years and what it did. And certainly I shared with Mr. Diaz that Judge Solomon saved his life by putting him where he is right now, to give him the opportunity to turn it around. Certainly for me, 25 years in this case, based upon what happened in the offense and other offenses that are like it out there. You know, being a member of the Board of Pardons and Paroles, they do a lot of parole hearings and looking at these sentences, and, you know, the hope, I'm sure, by the General Assembly when they pass laws, is that they're implemented in an equal type of fashion. I would support a reduction in the sentence in this particular case, and I believe that even with a reduction of 5 years, it would look more like the high end of other offenses that look like this. You know, I'd be willing to go that far, which would trigger programming in the institution for Mr. Diaz, but it would also recognize that the victim's son in this case does not believe that he believes that he should do all of the sentence. But it's a case where he would still not be eligible for parole for another few years, which also gives the punitive part of this. You know, that's important to the state's attorney and the victim. So that's where I wind up.
Okay. So the reason I took a recess is because I really needed some time to take a step back and look at the big picture here. The board has many functions. If this were a parole hearing, for me, it would be an easy decision, right? I mean, he's done programs, he's stayed out of trouble. he's got a flat sentence and needs supervision in the community, it would be a grant. I would grant parole. That's not our function here today. Our function here today is to consider commutation and to consider whether there are exceptional and compelling circumstances. He's done a few programs. He has a release plan. But I also have to consider, that the judge handed down, handed down this sentence, looking at his entire criminal history after offering a 20-year sentence and it being rejected, knowing all of the facts of the case and coming to the conclusion that it was fair to call this a home invasion. There was someone in the home. I've come to the conclusion that in my opinion, it does not rise to the level of exceptional and compelling circumstances, and that's required. We have to separate parole from commutation. That's required in these types of hearings, and I just don't see that Mr. Diaz has done enough in his rehabilitation. As much as I'd like to help him because the courts haven't been able to, I just can't come to that conclusion. So I'm going to make a motion in the matter of Raul Diaz, inmate number 160833. I'll make a motion to deny the application for commutation as I find no exceptional and compelling circumstances to justify granting. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
No.
Okay, so it's a majority decision, sir. Unfortunately, we could not grant your commutation here today. You are eligible for parole and you are most definitely on the right path to get out on parole. We would encourage you to keep working on yourself, staying out of trouble, maintaining your sobriety, and get involved in the NA community and the C-card community. We wish you the best, sir. Thank you, everyone, for your participation.
Thank you.
This now concludes the March 13th, 2024 commutation session of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles for inmate Raul Diaz, inmate number 160833. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
You're all set. Can you let the officer know you're all set and to send the next inmate?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep, I'm all set. Okay. Thank you.
Who else is surprised that they said no? No write-ups, right? But he didn't do anything else to get it done, and they didn't overturn what the judge sentenced him for. And I'm surprised. I thought for sure Connecticut would say, yeah, you know what? It was a harsh sentence. Mike Pauly's always got his rose-colored glasses on. He's dangerous, in my opinion. He really is. He does not care about victims. And here's the thing. First of all, I have to apologize. I was wrong. The minimum sentence is not 20 years. The minimum sentence for a home invasion is 10 years. And I can thank Grok for that. And for those of you who don't know, I am on Twitter. I post there every once in a while. You want to give me a follow. The link's in the description or my account. But it was interesting. So Connecticut does not have a 20-year minimum sentence, right? I put this into Grok, the AI, my AI friend. The correct mandatory minimum sentence for home invasion is 10 years, as classified as a Class A felony. And this is what they, but to put it in, and this is what they did after the Cheshire murders. Now, but still, to put it into context, all 50 states, look at this. Look how insane this is, because Connecticut is known as light on crime, right? But Massachusetts has a 20-year minimum sentence, which I'm curious to know why, right? Connecticut is the next highest of all 50 states with a minimum of 10. So this means if someone does a home invasion, the judge cannot give any type of deal. It's 10 years. Maximum 25 years. The judge in this case gave this guy the maximum of 25 years, which he deserved at his age, breaking into a home and beating a man. Yeah. Now, it was interesting, how Mike Pohl is trying to say, oh, but it's really robbery first. You came in there and the guy came home. Shut up, Mike Pohl. You're disgusting. It wasn't a robbery first. It was a home invasion. All right. Then you have Oklahoma 7, South Carolina. And as you can see, it goes down, right? Where these other states, even states that you think like Florida, Florida, they're like, yeah, well, you break into someone's home and you're going to get shot, right? But 2.9 years. Look at how lenient some of these tougher, Alabama 1 year. Where's Louisiana? 1 year. You can do a home invasion and the judge can sentence you to 1 year. So I love Michigan 0-year minimum sentence. Oh, you can get a quarter of a year. But isn't that amazing? Now, what's amazing, again, why I look at this and find this so fascinating, every state, they have their own legislators, they write their own laws, and Connecticut had to have the Cheshire murders happen in order for there to be outrage. It was so horrific. The whole world saw it, and they said, you know what, we're going to rewrite our laws. Now it's 10 years for a home invasion. And minimum, right? And these were horrific. If you haven't heard about it, it's like saying Voldemort in Connecticut. It's actually a word that you don't want to mention. And it was just horrific. This whole family was wiped out. These monsters essayed her and killed her, the 11-year-old daughter. They killed the 17-year-old daughter. They killed mom. They basically went into the home, had them drive to the bank to get money. They did everything they asked for. And then when they did that, they murdered everyone. And dad escaped. And then everyone became so enraged. And then Connecticut went and raised the minimum sentence. That's why today they have the second longest out of all 50 states, the light on crime Connecticut. And again, I bring this up because it's just proof. See, when there's enough outrage and enough noise, all of a sudden legislators, whoever was governor at the time, they would have said, yes, I can win brownie points with my constituency. I will raise the minimum to this. And then if you think about it, this crime took place in 2007. This man went and committed his crime just a few years later, 4 years later. So it's still fresh in the mind of everyone. The new legislation is hot off the press. And the judge says, not only are you not going to get the minimum of 10 years, but you're going to get 25 years. And now he was trying to get a commutation. Now he's going to still is parole eligible. I'm not sure when we'll see him, but I imagine we will sometime soon. And when we do, he'll be in the return of playlist. But here's you can see he went on a high-speed chase afterward. He crashed into a lawn. You see all those old those Crown Victoria. What am I saying? Crown Vics, right? Ford Crown Vics. I love those old cop cars. Big V8s in them. And yeah. And he's a full and isn't it crazy? He talks about how he came in on me and I just like touched him with the jewelry box. Like, go screw yourself. All these years later, and he still is using that excuse. And thank goodness for the ADA. Thank goodness for who is it, the grandson of the victim? And don't you love how his attorney starts off with his speech? It was a dream. Okay, bro. Yeah, go read the room. But he thought it would have worked. I thought it would have worked too. I thought, the parole board might have said, yeah, we'll excuse it. What was Mike Pohl even talking about with the judge? He's a good man. He saved your life, because I guess he was facing even more after he put the state through the cost of a trial, I guess. State police arrested a Hartford man following a series of burglaries in Enfield and a home invasion in Ellington last week. So, right, he was on a rampage. This wasn't just one. He was on a rampage. On October 27th around 12:15 p.m., troopers were called to pursue two vehicles on 190. Enfield police lost sight of them following a reported daytime burglary. As officers were looking for the suspect vehicles, they received a report of an accident in the intersection of Route 90. One of the vehicles involved matched the description of one of the suspect vehicles. Minutes later, police received a second call reporting crash elsewhere on Route 83. where the driver fled on foot. After rolling up onto the ditch vehicle, a check with license plate revealed that it was stolen from Hartford. As troopers were investigating the scene, a 77-year-old man called 911 and reported that someone just busted into his home and robbed and assaulted him. The victim reported that he found the accused 40-year-old Raul Diaz of Hartford stealing jewelry from his home. When the homeowner confronted Diaz, he was assaulted and pepper sprayed, sustaining a head injury. I mean, at least he didn't stab and kill him, right? Diaz also allegedly stole his wallet and keys. It's interesting to use. I never heard of a home invader using pepper spray. That isn't interesting. I guess, I guess you get what you can get, right? As troopers pulled up to the victim's house, they allegedly saw Diaz and the victim's car backing it out of a long driveway. Troopers tried. When you're 40 and the man who walks in on you is 77, you don't need to assault him, right? It's just troopers tried to stop the car, but he was reportedly near an intersection. Vance and Diaz attempted to flee following the crash, but he was captured and subdued. Collected the scene allegedly in Diaz infield burglaries as well as incident on Ellington. And it's a home invasion. You know, it's like you're robbing someone's home at daylight. There's a car in the driveway. He probably scoped it out. He probably knew what he was getting himself into. Mike Paul's like, it's burglary first, and someone walked in on him. Oh. No, it's not. It's a home invasion. It's a home invasion. Take those glasses up. Okay, I gotta go. That's my note. But thank you, Sir Richard. This was before Lady Holly was here. Thank you, Sir Richard, for pulling it up. And with that, I'll let you go.
And Wilhelm Frederick was my father-in-law. He was 77 at the time of the home invasion and the attack. I know I'm not the first to stand in front of you and share how crime affects lives, but I wish to thank the Board of Pardons and Paroles for this opportunity to speak on his behalf. This is the first time I'm aware of Mr. Diaz ever demonstrating any remorse for his actions of 12 years ago. I am also very surprised of his keen awareness of what happened, yet he has no recollection of the jarring impact of the jewelry box and the spray of mace that was in my father-in-law's eyes for a couple of hours. This is about two men, both with choices. Life circumstances forced them to take two different paths. I know of one who immigrated to the United States and led a productive life, and one that's an admitted drug user and habitual criminal that should stay incarcerated for his entire sentence to protect the community. And no, this is not a statement of hate or darkness. This is just people need to pay for their actions.